go one at a time.
I don't think Gravity needs to change their bans whatsoever because that worked for them. But then the change up from Impulse is pretty pronounced here.
Oh, wow.
Changing multiple bans. They do not decide to ban away Saintvicious tank junglers. Also, we do have to note Team Impulse decided to be red side here. The higher seed team gets map choice in games 1, 3, and 5.
Right.
So this was a red side choice, creating the same pick ban matchups as we saw in game 2.
Very interesting. They did just take a loss on the red side. And it will be now the pick going blind over to Gravity instead of Impulse this time.
All right, so we saw yesterday in North America, Vladimir is a really big important pick. Here today, it's still really important for these guys.
Could that be a Keane pick? Well, here's the thing, right? They banned away the Vladimir counter.
The Fizz.
Right? So at that point...
In game 1, he had the same chance, though, and didn't do it. The very first game, he picks Orianna and says, you know what, it's fine for our team comp. Yeah, game 2 realizes it.
It is the evolution of the series in that point, because he knew that the Orianna was not good against Vladimir.
Yeah.
And then in this case, they didn't want to allow it to go over to Team Impulse. Plus, it's not like Keane hasn't played it before.
No, of course. But, of course, Impact, we heard, I think it was Alex Itch say that Hecarim not very good against Rumble, but now that Rumble's gone, Impact can go back to his great early game aggressive top laner. Hecarim, spike on the Trinity Force, go run around the map and kill people. Rush actually going to take away the Rek'Sai that Saint was playing and say, third jungler in 3 games. Buy didn't work, okay, let's go Rek'Sai instead.
So see if Rush can get himself kind of fixated now on a new style. He'll be able to get cross-map and really give a lot more presence around. He has been focusing that top lane with Impact. We kind of see them as Bash Brothers. In that first game, they weren't really able to get it going in the second one. But this is what Gravity has to work with now. Hecarim and Rek'Sai. A good amount of champion that says there's going to be some skirmishing going on. They want to fight.
Yeah, it's definitely Rush's style. It's interesting to me how as soon as the 2 tank bans drop away, now they take Saint's Rek'Sai. Like, if that pick were there with those prior 2 bans, they really push Saint down his tier list, but now he gets whatever he wants. He gets the champions that were banned away in the first game anyway.
And they leave it too, right? Why pick it right away when you don't need it? They're going to get their AD carry, they're going to get the support, feel good about it. Bunny FuFuu gets his Thresh.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge to get Thresh right there. As well as taking away Sivir. Most of this is just Gravity taking away the champions that Team Impulse has had throughout this series.
Did they put together their exact team comp? What was... No, they had Leona, sorry. I was backwards on that one, but certainly looking pretty similar.
Yeah. I love the fact that they're back on Graves here as well, just because it was Apollo's by far best champion here. It allows them to go really hard in this game. The Alistar is interesting that it's not going to be a Leona again. They don't want to pick that necessarily into the Thresh, I suppose.
Yeah.
I like the Alistar. We'll see what Adrian can do on that as well. I've had 1 game on that, if I can recall. I don't believe he did. We'll see what kind of numbers he can put up protecting Apollo on the cow. Seeing a bit of Shyvana play in other regions. It is going to be the lock for top as well. Do we actually get the Smite Shyvana top lane with skirmishers? This could be what we have been seeing over in the LPL.
Yeah, Flandre played this over in the LPL. Also, it's pretty prevalent in some echelons of North American solo queue. We're seeing more and more. It's basically Skirmisher Saber, Cinderhulk, top lane Shyvana. It would work in a lane swap scenario. Like, that's the thing. The fact that this exists in solo queue, it actually fits even better for double jungle or lane swapping scenarios. They have so much jungle pressure with a Smite Shyvana as well as a Nunu who can be focused on counter jungling. That, if anything, has a big chance of neutralizing Rush.
Oh, this could be all kinds of tricky. Of course, it is an escapeless Shyvana, so that will be scary all the same, but we'll see how it gets played. Orianna does come through, so XiaoWeiXiao plays the exact matchup Keane played in game 1. Says, you know what, this is going to be good overall. Let me show you how it works.
We wonder what XiaoWeiXiao's got left in his champion pool here. I wonder, I'm a little curious why the Karthus just completely disappeared out of that, because it had been banned against them so frequently. Yeah. Maybe he'd stop practice on it because Yasuo, Twisted Fate, and Vladimir were all denied for him this match. And Orianna is not the ideal matchup, but maybe they have the cow delivery system there.
There's the simple things you look at, low-hanging fruit, there are 2 people that can cancel that ult immediately just with simple before level 6 spells and Spell Shield and Pool. So the Karthus ultimate may not be as helpful in that sense as well. A lot of things going in now. As we head into Game 3, teams are considering both of their victories and both of their losses here as we make our way in.
This is going to be all kinds of fun. Team Impulse continuing with their same trend of let's pick a bunch of team fighters, let's play a bunch of hard engage, let's give Rush a fighter early game, let's go bash heads and win a 25-minute game.
I like it.
Still the strategy for Impulse in this one. Gravity continuing to show texture with theirs. Game 1, bunch of disengage, bunch of counter engage. Didn't quite work, early game went badly. Okay, Game 2, let's just go crazy. Let's play a bunch of high damage bruisers. Ravenous Hydra, Rek'Sai, Tank Fizz.
Yeah.
That worked great. Okay, some bans come through. Let's try something else instead. It's going to be fun to watch this one.
It's going to be a great game. If you think one team has the edge going into Game 3, tweet hashtag GVWin or hashtag TIPWin to @LOLesports. We'll update the fan vote shortly. As always, you make some good tweets. You might even see them in the game as well. The crowd's ready as we head into Game 3. Things are getting even more intense here in our quarterfinals as these teams look to head to the semis. Game 3 of this BO5 and Round the Rift.
And every single one of these Gravity's team compositions progressively are getting better at absorbing initiations from Team Impulse. Shyvana sometimes has trouble definitely reaching the backline, but if you engage on her, she can jump through you, pull you back a bit, and then reach the backline. Vladimir, Thresh, Nunu, all these champions very good at counter-engaging. It is a 25-minute win potential for Team Impulse if they go for it, but Gravity definitely is willing and ready to lay some traps.
Really excited to see how Hauntzer plays this, how much he's had in it. Oh no! He's getting pinched.
Cop! Lantern at one.
That is why you don't put points in your skills until last second. Cop still didn't have any points in his skills. Didn't even bother to skill up the spell shield because Bunny FuFuu said he had him with the lantern.
Cop's so lucky to have a guy like Bunny.
Yep.
So fortunate. Saves his life multiple times, even highlights from last splits. People yelling, Cop, take the lantern! Bunny's got it! See if they can keep that synergy throughout this game. It's been one that's really been a highlight for Gravity throughout their season. See where Impact and the rest of the team decide to start on this one. He will join Rush towards that bottom side. It looks like they may get a little aggression here, but they know it because of the ward placed.
And you're seeing it as a lane swap scenario after all. Analyst Desk, there we go, okay. Analyst Desk said that Team Impulse sniffed out the lane swap in Game 1, a lane swap that Gravity had wanted. Now again, it looks like they're trying to sniff it out, but it's not the lane swap they actually find.
This is the strangest start. Rush starts his double jungle at Wolves while 10 inches away from him on the screen would be Nunu and Thresh and Sivir counter jungling his stuff. This is basically Impulse giving up a 3-buff straight away to the double smite team of Gravity. It's a guaranteed 3-buff here as long as Hauntzer can take this blue.
And what's crazy is since 2015, 3-buff starts weren't always ridiculous because all the camps worth a lot of gold, they're all worth a lot of experience. But this is a 3-buff plus a lot more camps too. Hauntzer's already got 2. Like, he's actually out jungling Rush.
Yeah. Because no one had to share on Gravity right here. They did a double jungle without sharing. They just doubled the jungle and took the start of both junglers.
So Hauntzer, now usually you'll see this back and forth. Once he can't get the CS in lane, they go back and take Gromp, so that should be his throughout the game. It's very well played here by Gravity to start off this double jungle, and I can't think that Impulse has had that much time playing against it.
No.
It's going to be very hard to react.
It all depends who they were scrimming against.
That's true.
If their partners didn't run the strategy, it's a new one. It's a new one. That's the trick here.
You can watch it in other regions. It doesn't make you any better playing against it.
At least you're aware it exists.
Hopefully you make the right moves as it happens. Watching is not doing. 1-to-1 in this game.
Is Hauntzer going to go take the crab now?
I don't know.
He is actually playing the role of a second jungler now with Smite. He's not even doing the lane game. This is... Come on, man.
Hey, well, he doesn't know the jungle mechanics.
He's not a jungler, yeah.
You know, I just realized, guys.
What'd you realize, Phreak?
We can no longer just blame Saintvicious for missed smites. There is blame to share here. The bottom lane dive, though, looks like it's in the eyes. The hook on an impact. A lot of damage through the Ignite on early on as well. They're not quite going to get him. He stays alive finally. First blood to Hauntzer. Anything on the way out? Rush looks Adrian as well. Lantern's there. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Gravity gets away with it.
Bunny lands the hook at the start and the lantern at the end of it. Even though Rush was trying to be there for the counter gank, 4v3 dive is successful for Gravity, as well as the heavy jungle denial. Such a great start for them.
You just saw the biggest troll face on Hauntzer's smile was just coming out on that. It's just like, peace out, bros. What a play. And I'm sure Tip is going to want to get something back after that. Not that they lost a whole lot. It was just first blood, but we have seen that Impulse can get themselves into scary situations thinking they're falling behind, so they push a little bit harder. Hauntzer now to the bottom lane. He will now have the chance to do Krugs if he wants to with that smite, but he's not even going to get any opposition on this one as he farms himself up. Good pressure by XiaoWeiXiao to Keane in the mid lane. This is actually kind of the same way we saw this happening in the Ori-Vlad matchup the first time.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky for Keane's Vladimir within the first 9 levels, and then it starts tilting back a little bit for him. The game in larger picture, though, Apollo has been freezing that lane this entire time. So while Gravity does have the kill advantage, the gold advantage from the first blood, the experience advantage is slightly in the favor of Apollo with that lane freeze. Gravity doesn't want that freeze to last forever, though. That's why they're top lane pushing. Now they have to go and get war control. Gravity is really on point this game.
Really fortunate timing there. They're going to be safe away from the push in from Adrian. And in fact, they even defend the sweeper. So that ward's going to stay up for another minute here. Gravity.
So focused on that scuttle fight. Uh-oh. That's a little damage to win the lane advantage. It's going to be tough if Adrian keeps catching those. So Saintvicious, as he does on Nunu, goes for that early dragon for his team. Starting to control, give a little bit more help around.
Early Sightstone. This is honestly such a great strategy from Gravity. Double smite against the team that gets carried by their jungler. Just outnumber him. Put more people in his lane. We used to see this a lot. If you really wanted to shut down a mid laner really hard, you just put 2 people in the lane.
Yep.
That's kind of what Gravity is doing to Rush right now. And it's really going to be hard for him to keep pace. Not only do they have 2 smites, but they also rush an early Sightstone to track his every movements. This puts the pressure back on the rest of Team Impulse, the Apollo Graves and the XiaoWeiXiao Orianna, to carry their weight because Rush is getting outnumbered.
Yeah, Rush is getting outnumbered, but Hauntzer still having a fairly hard time in the one-on-one lane. Of course, losing out on a combat summoner. Impact still has Ignite over there. All right, that's still a scary Hecarim. It's something that Hauntzer, until he gets his challenging smite, which is going to be a while away, is going to have to deal with. And it's going to be hard for him. Now, bottom lane, we are seeing the recall come in for Apollo. You mentioned the XP lead, but there was an item deficit until just now. It was pickaxe versus nothing, and so it'll give one more wave for Cop to push, but it will mean that Apollo has to walk his way back in now with an item lead. I feel like Impulse should be okay here. There's Hauntzer. You mentioned him going for the Krugs whenever he can.
Such
the wave go back.
Such an easy way to play the lane when you have that smite. Yo, I can't farm. I'm going to go back and get these Krugs. My jungler doesn't need it. And you become so big as well. While Impact has a little bit of trouble waiting for the waves.
It's a Nunu. He doesn't clear his entire jungle all the time anyway.
Right.
It's really
Perfect
nice.
Example.
It's the right jungler top laner composition. Gravity trying to do that top lane jungle synergy better than Impulse. This time through champion select, and they're trying to go counter Keane's aggression in lane.
Oh!
No.
That was slick. Perfectly guesses the flash on Burrow. That was nice, Keane.
I'm a little surprised Rush went for that, honestly, knowing that he had a Vladimir with both Flash and Ghost. Even if he gets the Burrow, it's difficult to combo him down.
Yeah.
But yeah, Flash burned from Rush and Ignite from XiaoWeiXiao for both summoners of Keane. Again, decreasing the overall pressure Rush can put on the map.
See if they can keep it going. That was definitely an act on level 6. It did not work out for them. So we'll see if they're organized to keep things going or it takes them a little bit to set back up. Impact, making sure this is pushed as much as possible. Really get
that worst place for a wave.
Got it.
Hold it. Yeah.
I'm excited to see Hauntzer in these fights. I miss seeing Shyvana. A lot of people forget all those abilities are pretty much buffed up once she gets into dragon form. The Q cleaves, the E is an AoE fire breath, and the W burns the ground. So see if Tip remembers all those things as she dives to the back line. Still giving Hauntzer a little bit of trouble down here.
He's trying to prevent the
no care in the world
anymore. I like this. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, well, they just got vision of the rest of Gravity as well in the side.
Yeah.
So I would honestly be a little bit worried. It's not like Hauntzer can't do damage.
Actually, this is risky. There's the Dragon's Ascent. Misses it, though, and Impact is going to gallop right away.
Maybe Hauntzer should buy Chilling Smite so he can slow people down. Shyvana.
He's already got the frost skin. You think it works that way?
Maybe. Hot ice. That's what it is. 9.5. There's still that first blood. This is the slowest of the 3 games so far. Teams really respecting the early ability or early advantage that a team could get, really swing the game. I like the fact that XiaoWeiXiao kind of stayed ready for the fight there. Rush just on the backside, but they don't get too much out of it. We also have the pressure of Saintvicious towards the mid lane.
Nightmare began.
Poor fella. He's honestly doing okay. He's out leveling Saintvicious. He's actually trying to counter jungle a bit on his own, but it's just the gank presence that's been completely shut down because he's either spotted out or playing catch up for camps. And there we have the Cinderhulk being completed on a Hauntzer as well.
Yep, skirmishes.
Challenging
Cinderhulk.
That's expected.
Yeah, so Hauntzer going to be a really good duelist and very hard to push around. And Hecarim normally a very good duelist. It's going to get more difficult. Saintvicious really, really wants his own buff.
Yeah, get away from
No one's collapsing on a rush right now, though. They're still fighting back and forth for it. Consume Smite. Saint gets it.
Yeah, Saint was just waiting on his consume cooldown to time that properly. Although Rush knows where the enemies are.
Gotta be careful
He's
here.
really trying hard to counter jungle. He might end up getting caught a bit by Saintvicious. Rush being incredibly aggressive here.
I thought he had was Impact coming up. I wanted to say Hauntzer, but it's not Hauntzer. It's Impact on Hecarim.
The slow escape.
Both the bottom lane guys were like, "Are you two gonna fight in the jungle or what? We're coming up. We're not coming up. Are you guys gonna do it?" But they just back off finally. That was pretty back and forth to the bottom side.
Well, speaking of back and forth, looks like the BF sword pickup has been pretty darn good for Apollo here on Graves, and the greedy Avarice Blade pickup for Cop is not going to give him the combat stats he needs. You're seeing this lane start to go a bit worse.
Yep.
For Gravity, Rush does not have flash for this one. XiaoWeiXiao takes a lot of damage trying to dive this one, and Keane sniffing this out says, "I'm going to push you the heck off my turret."
Smart Vladimir out there from Keane as Impulse is trying to flex in that mid lane, knowing that they have a lot of people low. Even with that Vladimir ultimate, they're going to keep the pressure on here.
The turret should be going down. Impact clear on the bottom side. So they know that pressure won't be there, at least for Gravity on the mid lane. You can see Keane still holding. So Tip doesn't get any more than that mid lane turret, but that does mean the wards can be pushed forward here. Hauntzer could actually be a target quite soon as Impact continues to keep this lane pushed. So they're making sure the double jungle had quite an effect in the early game, but it seems to have fizzled out.
Something that's happened despite that early double jungle is Tip is just straight up winning the lanes. In the AD carry lane, they had the XP advantage, and once he got that BF sword, Cop couldn't match. He's decided to turn that into a farm lane with the Avarice Blade and just try and get as much CS over time. XiaoWeiXiao using his pre-level 9 advantage on Keane, maybe extending that. I wonder where Keane's going with this build, rushing a Spectre's Cowl on Vladimir instead of your normal Spell Vamp or Dorn Shield type itemization. The only place that Gravity has an early game edge would be in that one dragon.
And even the first blood on Hauntzer does not seem to turn into much, as Impact seems to be winning that matchup all the same. Now, Rush, we said, can he adapt to the prevalence of tanks in 5.6? Well, he got Cinderhulk on Rek'Sai, so let's make him a tank. Why not?
I have seen this. The LPL was doing this last night as well. Cinderhulk Rek'Sai. We've seen Cinderhulk Jarvan. A lot of those guys are just trying to transition over to the full tanks. It makes Rush a much less threatening duelist, though, if not giving him some counter jungle resistance, because there's no way a Nunu's killing a Cinderhulk Rek'Sai.
Definitely the flip side to Saint's build last time of Hydra and complete damage Rek'Sai.
Yeah.
You can see the jungler's preferences here in their builds.
Wow.
Back and forth. It's bottom lane, their top lane. Impact still doing the same thing to Hauntzer.
Even with challenging Smite against not a complete Eternity Force,
That's a great point.
Impact still wins that fight. It only gets worse from there. Challenging Smite's like one of the best 1v1 summoner spells you could get. It's basically Exhaust. A weaker version of, you could kind of say, but lower cooldown to be fair, and Hauntzer can't even win that fight.
It's a more spammable weak Exhaust, basically, that increases your damage a little bit. I'd love the lane pressure that Impulse has right here, though. Now that they've swapped back Sivir to protect, or swapped back Graves to protect this wave.
Oh, what? He just, is that stage nerfs? Because Apollo has to know the timer on that spell shield, and he mistimed it by about
buckshot of the shield.
By about 0.2. Sometimes you get really antsy about games, and your internal clock changes.
He's just like, YOLO, get off my turret. Who knows?
Yeah, gave him some mana as a parting gift.
This is such a new experience for Rush as well. How do you run around as a tank? There it is. He's still playing the same.
Wow.
Whoa!
Bunny FuFuu can't spell shield. Cobb tries to do it one more time. They're both actually a cumulative 600 HP now. They could be going down.
Impulse might get all 3 outer turrets this game before a single one of theirs has fallen, mainly because the experience advantage from the early lane freeze. Yes, they died to a dive, but they are pressuring every single lane in even manned fights right here.
Yep.
This is huge for the overall goal in this match.
Sheen is well created top side for impact. If he's left alone, turrets are going to fall fast. And Impulse, with all of this that they grab, are going to get dragged into.
And again, they attribute the resources once they're in control so well. Apollo doesn't even hit the turret. He knows it will die. He just wants to bounce the wave back. Just kidding, he clears the wave. Okay, whatever. I don't know what you're doing anymore, Apollo.
Gotta push.
But the other 3 take Dragon. He's like, you're fine. I'm not even going to bother being part of this one.
Keane getting mean. Looks like he's actually trying to get out of this one himself. Impact
he means to leave.
Cannot chase. He has no vision on that side of the map.
I'm actually surprised at the Spectre's Cow. I know you mentioned already, Jatt.
Yeah.
There was literally 1 magic damage dealer, unless you count, like, Rek'Sai Cinderhulk.
I mean,
Like,
if we think back to item builds of the past, Keane actually likes building early Spectre's Cows on champions in general. He had an Azir game where he just built the Spectre's Cow in the middle of his build. He is the guy to do it if there is a guy to do it, but I personally don't like it. I think sitting on a no magic and going Spellvamp would have been much wiser.
It's like the lame version of me in Trinity Forces. At least my item's cool.
Hey, dude, capes are cool.
I mean, I guess. Is a cowl a cape? I actually don't know.
I mean, it looks like a head would fit inside that pretty easy.
Yeah. I think isn't a cowl a head covering?
It's a Spectre's Cow. I'll leave it at that.
It looks like it goes around the shoulders.
All right. I will remain ignorant. You guys, I'll just cede the point to everyone else here. Saintvicious staying in the jungle here. Bunny FuFuu. Bit of double in jungle, and Gravity did, of course, get themselves a turret back. The bot lane push finally worked out for these guys. Keane is going for the early Will of the Ancient, so he's getting to scale up finally. He's got a nice couple of points in that E, so the Vladimir is starting to come online. Maybe the Gravity starts feeling a little bit better in the future, but they're down 2,000 gold. It's Impulse with a lead, and typically Impulse with a lead does really well in League of Legends.
They're in position to start snowballing. Although, I'm really curious how Rush is going to play as a full tank right here. A full tank. Cinderhulk, Aegis. He is still posturing the same way he would on a damage dealer. Like he's going to kill you at any second. Eventually, Gravity will realize that that's not true. Yep. And I wonder if that loses respect for his map pressure.
Oof. Oh, Hauntzer forced rolls away from this one all the same. It's weird, he's playing the exact opposite of Saintvicious. Saint's like, all right, Ravenous Hydra third, let's go full damage.
Yep.
Gravity's starting to feel the...
Impact might be losing his turret. Oh, that's nice that he spots them, though, so they know exactly where this push is. They might be pushing elsewhere now.
Bot lane tier 2 could take a whole lot of damage because this Gravity 3-man top will knock the turret down. Impact cuts the wave.
Yeah, he's going to cut the next wave.
This will make tier 2 unlikely to be taken here in the whole situation.
They got
Impulse
this
will. Nice, 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 nice.
Well, there's 4 minions for Gravity. I wonder how much of that turret they can take.
You're right. Of course, it's Tank Nunu, and a Blood-Boiled Sivir is no slouch at turret kills. Bottom tier 2 does go down. XiaoWeiXiao still battling Keane. Keane gets the Ignite on his face as well, and Adrian's coming in. Lands the headbutt Pulverize. Keane did not dodge that one. And you're right, Jatt. There's the turret.
They tank the turret, but at what cost right now? They just lost their mid laner, and now they have to recall. The pressure is in the hands of Team Impulse. Impact got a head start, making sure that minion wave wouldn't push back in the other direction. Now they push down mid lane.
That entire corner of the map is dark. I see that so rarely, but there's nothing there. Impulse 5v4, nice preemptive shockwave to buy time. Adrian gets hooked, but he does not have turret dagger, so who cares? Tier 2 goes down, Impulse get a lot for that.
Strong play coming in now from Impulse. A little low on mana, so they're going to back off at this point. Finally, that top line of minions is back and spawn. Random things to see in this game.
5 turrets already for
it's
Team
like game
Impulse.
1.
Yeah, that switch.
It feels
game
pretty
1
similar.
was 30-ish minutes, and then we actually had a 40-minute Gravity where they got what they wanted, and it seems like Impulse is back on track for their game.
Yeah, this is definitely the closer version of Game 1, because Game 1 was a 7,000 goal lead at like 12 or 13 minutes, I think, if I remember correctly. This one, though, because of the double jungle, because they set Rush back a little bit, because Rush is not on the damage dealer, it's more just the other guys stepping up right here. Yes, Rush could farm, but it was Apollo and Adrian using that early experience advantage to win 2v2s without killing people, but to pressure turrets, and XiaoWeiXiao winning the 1v1 mostly against Keane to pressure down the mid lane.
So here we go, Team Impulse sitting on that 2,000 gold lead all the same. Gravity doing a decent job of counteracting that. Of course, they're only down 2 turrets, which is why it's only that 2k difference, but what's next on the table? Dragons are split 1 apiece here, so that whole like Dragon 5 thing is a long way away. Baron comes up in 30, meaning, you know, we've seen Gravity. They are happy to try to sneak that if they ever get the chance. And with 2 smites and a Nunu, there's a real chance you do knock down a Baron at some random point in the game.
See if the objectives are what Gravity needs to get back in this one. Their fight squad is usually pretty good. Funny FuFuu being one of the big initiators onto that one. We saw Dominate's use of Nunu the other day. Kind of walk up, easy engage, just stand there, right? As Saint said, do what you got it. He's got it. Let's see if he can perform the same as well. Impulse as well, looking for XiaoWeiXiao to bring out a little bit of that MVP again that he had last split.
I feel like Gravity are going to be really good at slow-burning team fights. They've got 2 tanks, maybe 3 if Bunny eventually gets gold, and some pretty high DPS champions overall, right? Blood-Boiled Sivir becomes a real AD carry. Vladimir sustains for basically ever. Right? It's Cinderhulk Rek'Sai, and eventually the damage of Hecarim falls off. Because he gets Triforce, then builds tank, and over time that damage starts to get lower and lower. Maybe the late game does work okay for Gravity. Rush trying to go. Oh, that's a great play. The engage comes back on in. They knock up Bunny FuFuu. Hook's going to go wide. Saintvicious forcing the team away, but Impact and Adrian on the wrong side of this fight. They go back in onto Keane, but Vlad is tanky enough to survive. Cop gets a kill. Shako gets back onto Cop, but there's no follow-through for the damage. Headbutt Pulverize finds even more, and they trade back onto the enemy support. It's a 1-for-1 overall.
Amazingly, Rush is still alive at the end of that fight after they burned everything for him, and Impulse was also very late to that fight overall, so while Gravity did find a somewhat long burn fight, they're not at the point where that necessarily matters yet. Vladimir isn't stacked up, and the burst damage that Impulse can put out is still huge, so Apollo and the rest of Impulse collapse there, securing the eventual fight win. I call it a win because they can go for Dragon now.
Yeah, enough health bars left over for the team. Rush recalls, heals up, ults back in, no big deal. Apollo and Rush going to take that one down together, so turret pushing power is here for Impulse, as though they needed it with half them already dead.
Yeah, so it starts off with Graves in the bottom lane and Hecarim in the top lane. Everyone's going to eventually arrive into this fight. You can see Shyvana TP's in first, followed by Hecarim, but the main story of this fight is look how Gravity is actually grouped up, and look how Impulse is all spread out. Impact actually should have ulted for an escape instead of a little bit of aggression. Then nobody would have died maybe in this entire fight. Gravity thought they could get the re-engage, but they didn't factor in the full health AD carry in the back of the fight, which eventually evens out the battle.
Vision really being a crutch here in these extended fights that they start in a big ball, but if they move just ever so slightly, you're probably not going to be able to see anything. That's hurting Gravity here in these re-engages. 2,000 gold. In the lead is Impulse, and Saintvicious and Hauntzer are going to look to chop that down a little bit. Apollo says, I got your back, bro, and they may go a little bit harder for this. But when you think somebody's going to die, there's Bunny FuFuu.
Yeah, he's always got to back up the team. And you guys talked about Hauntzer going aggressive without the rest of the team there, but this time around they had Saintvicious and they had Bunny nearby. Oh, he missed it. He was going to try to hook over into Baron.
There's been a lot of people missing that hook today. It happened over in EU as well. Hylissang was landing every single hook until he tried to hook the Baron.
Yeah. Doesn't even move. These guys get like these intricate wards like over walls into brushes that are like pixel perfect, and then you hook a giant Baron and you're like, oh, that one I can't do.
Well, this was interesting though. Gravity trying to get a bit of a sneak.
They would have got... It's 5.6. The Scuttler doesn't see into the pit anymore. Huh. Like, they could have Shyvana ulted, Lantern, and Nunu. But clever. They missed.
I feel like that would have been overly dangerous. But yeah, that may have been what they were going for.
Definitely a halt in decision-making from the other game. They were more than ready to go for that last game with just a few people being in the bottom lane, right? When we saw Morg down there. This time, they back off. So Gravity is really taking consideration into each move that they do. A lot of deep wards in their side of the jungle as well could give Impulse a chance to catch them off guard here. Bottom side, not so much, but that top side is completely littered.
Impact playing the sneaky game here. But Keane's going to get out of this camp with full health. And
yeah. There's really a death to come from this.
Yeah, the Crux.
He fooled us all. Hashtag unexpected.
Your top laner could bring Smite. I can just hit him with Machine. Worth similar power.
Such a low kill game. It's been completely about the map rotations, which honestly, if you're Gravity, is kind of the game they want to play overall. They're just hoping to get to that late game. 6 more minutes, and they're 30 minutes in, which is what Last Shadow said was their target for when he's super confident in his team. With the Frozen Heart potentially coming on Saintvicious soon. Waiting for Hauntzer to finish off some of his items. Maybe they're trying to reach that point. But honestly, XiaoWeiXiao's Orianna, I think, will be the decider in this match. Big items, 100% of his team's kills this game. And if he gets a good shockwave onto Squishies, I think it's over.
Yeah, it's a very real threat of the counter engage here from Team Impulse. Gravity right now still looking to chase down a little bit more harassment. Saint 1v3, throws a nice blast. No one even looks at him backwards.
Trying to just keep pressure on Hauntzer, or rather Impact in that bottom lane, along with Keane trying to do what he can to take down the turret. Very spread out for this situation with a lot of teleports being down.
Yeah.
Team's just trying to kite the fight and do what they can.
It's interesting because Impulse have their teleport champion split pushing the bottom lane, and Keane has to hoof it all the way over if he wants to join back on his team here. Teleport isn't up yet for Impact. That was likely timed by Gravity, so they know this is safe. But at a certain point, they got to send Hauntzer. Now they do. And, you know, these bottom laners can get anywhere they want now.
Yeah, they're heavily controlling the vision in the Baron pit right here. And I think they're just trying to force a fight here. I don't think they expect to actually just get this Baron. How fast are they burning it down, though? It's
really slow.
Yeah, it better be a turn for a fight, but how can they get it? Here we go.
Vlad ult comes in on a 2, but there's no follow-up. A wasted
Are they just
ultimate.
stay on the Baron the whole time? This seems ridiculously risky.
Doing it. We have Hauntzer on one side as well. Apollo's in the front line here trying to do some damage. Comp to the back with Rush, and it's going to be an engagement here. Adrian, Impact, and Apollo all inside the Baron pit, doing what they can now just on the entrance. Saintvicious is a big focus now. Over onto Rush and Impact. They're onto Keane, and it looks like Gravity just gets completely wiped out in a very scattered skirmish.
What a bold call there by Impulse. So many things happened in that fight that barely squeaked Impulse the fight victory, but yeah, they get a 5-for-1 ace and Baron.
Absolutely incredible. A whole lot of health bars going to come back up after they recall, and yeah, they held the gold lead 25 minutes in. They go for the Baron attempt, and just damage wasn't coming through, allowed them to turn back very cleanly. We got to see that fight again, though.
You just don't expect it.
I don't expect the ace at all.
To 5v5 while tanking Baron for about 15 seconds and then still win a 5-for-0 ace. So much had to go right for them in that fight for that to happen.
Yep.
By the end of it, Baron actually had de-aggroed entirely, which I thought Apollo was going to die when he went back to the Baron pit, but Baron had stopped attacking. That's one of the key things that happened in this fight. Early on, Vladimir all burned, but no damage goes down during the Vladimir ultimate, so the damage amp is useless. Here, XiaoWeiXiao goes zoned off the back of the fight. You think that's bad, but he took Vlad with him, so it's actually a 4v4 in the middle here. Almost an instant interrupt onto the Absolute Zero, another thing that goes right. Cop also doesn't get DPS out because Rush is sitting on his face the whole time. Baron de-aggroes when XiaoWeiXiao has the back to him, and like we said, those are all the things. I definitely missed some as well that went right for Team Impulse in that fight and did not go right for Gravity, giving Impulse a massive lead in this game.
And the big thing that mattered for me was the fact that Vlad went to go chase out Orianna, then Orianna got back first. Like, it felt like she was able to shockwave before Keane re-arrived in the battle. It was definitely great. Team Impulse doing good things. Cop unable to do much.
Tip defying Gravity. Definitely what they did right there.
Well, when they got a coach named Fly, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, it's true. Best coach. Picked specifically for this matchup.
Yep. And here we go, Hauntzer.
There's a couple people caught on Gravity right now.
That's
jump! Oh, he had the ultimate up. Oh, wow, he saves it. He knew it could have been bad news bears if he even tried to get out of that one. Impulse now with a bit more aggression towards the mid lane. Power play for them here as they make their way into the inhibitor turret.
Gravity actually can't engage on this. They waste no time.
I am Rush
going deep.
Behind the turret. There is no turret there. We don't even see it. Keane's going to be the next one. He pools under everybody, and that's what they've wanted. Their own pool. They take him down. They're going to be going for money FuFuu now, and it might just be the inhibitor turret after this. XiaoWeiXiao gets the hook. He should get the command protect, and it should be enough.
Well, Cop actually could have autoed XiaoWeiXiao like 2 more times with that one, but was afraid to stay in the battle, prioritizing his own deaths over some damage happening in the mid laners. Oh well, either way, that's going to hit him.
Oh!
Finally makes us look good for this.
Better duck.
Such aggressive moves by
The inhibitor stayed up, by the way.
It did. It's because they spent so long diving. They just kept going for kill after kill, and yet they were not far enough ahead to make that play. Just like Impulse was not far enough ahead to make the Baron play. But when you make moves with that much confidence, oftentimes it can lead to victory. That's what Impulse has been doing all year.
And it's going to be a mid lane turret taken down as a result of all this. So the mid. Oh, okay, good. It did die. But the missteps of Impulse definitely giving some legs back into Gravity. Now, the blue team is still sitting down 8K. It'll be a hard road back in, but here we go. Here's the dive.
Yeah, so you can see it start. They try and get out of the turret aggro as quickly as possible, and they actually just burn through Saintvicious. Saint needs a lot more tankiness to be that front line, but here's where the dive kind of extends right here. They do not need to continue on to cop Buddy.
So many minions.
Stop, hit the inhibitor right now. But XiaoWeiXiao tries for poke, he gets hooked, and then the rest of the team has to engage to protect him. Yes, they got a kill and it looked all fine and dandy, but the time spent killing was not time spent on the inhibitor, which means they overstay, they take one too many boomerangs, and at the end of it, Cop gets the headshot.
Why even go that way? Why would you go the only direction that you could get skill shotted from?
As close to the wall as you can.
Yeah.
Let me just hug this wall real quick. So, Impulse. Give them a little bit of an edge, and they take everything. 11-5, 30 minutes in, the gold lead almost up to 10,000 now. Rush, she's like, I see him.
Unless you're bringing like 3 people, you're not killing Rush.
No. A few more final touches for Tip to put on here as they go straight for the front door. They have an inhibitor to fight with. This isn't down, so they're not just killing time. See if they actually get a fight out of Gravity, though.
Ooh, really close. Dive comes on in. They're going to try for this one. Here we go. Hauntzer stuck in the front line. Shockwave turns the first kill around, and Keane can't do a whole lot of damage. Impact mucking things up in the backside. He's going to force Cop kind of away on this one. Couple auto attacks coming through. Bunny FuFuu forced back as well. A second kill for XiaoWeiXiao, and they do break the inhibitor. Flash Pulverize does not quite land. Cop flashes out of this one, but now the Nexus turrets are under fire. Apollo doesn't seem to care much. Rush doesn't seem to either. Turret number 1, turret number 2. It might be the Nexus as well as Team Impulse. Will they choose buildings or will they choose champions? Right now, a bit of both, actually.
No fantasy points right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, Saintvicious couldn't kill himself at the very end, but at the end of the day, Impulse take care of business, and they're up now 2-1.
Yeah, and we're getting a clearer picture of the way this series will go. Impulse will win fast, or Gravity would win the long game. But as long as they can keep accelerating these matches, and the decisions and risks they take are somewhat calculated, Impulse can end up being the stronger team. We saw a lot of variation in champ select between games 1, 2, and 3. But this game in particular, having XiaoWeiXiao take that Vladimir vs. Orianna matchup and win it on both sides might be a game changer as the series progresses.
That's true, and it played out the same way as well in both. Vlad was losing early, and then it came back. So they should have known what was happening there. You've already read that book, as well as looking at the game, the double jungle. So we've seen it work beautifully in other regions, right? We've seen them carry the game with it. What happens if it doesn't? It didn't seem like they were totally like right on a limb, right? I don't even know what word I want there.
It didn't
because they still had a chance.
Right, it didn't fail. They set Rush back a little bit early. They negated this early game pressure. But at the end of the day, Hauntzer wasn't a big enough threat on Shyvana because he couldn't deal with the amount of farm that Impact was getting. They never denied Impact, and if he couldn't bully him, even with challenging Smite, he's not bullying much.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of that I think, like, it was better than game 1. Right, it got better than game 1 where he couldn't win that matchup at all. And I think you come into the matchup, you expect Impact to play better in the entire series in almost any given matchup.
For sure.
Hecarim, especially a great laner.
Best top laners.
Right, like it's a tall order to say, hey Hauntzer, just do well against Impact, buddy. Former world champion, hasn't slumped at all. Like you kind of expect it. What I actually really like though is the adaptations for both teams throughout the series. Okay, game 1, Rush Camp's top lane works great. Gravity adapts. They basically counter-gank every single time to keep the Wolf Spirits up, to keep the wards up, crush the gank pressure. Okay, Team Impulse adapts. Game 3, let's play it smarter. They're on to us. They get a smaller gold lead, but they keep it, and then the mid-game they make better choices, keep the lead up, close the game out. Every single time these teams one-up each other. I want to see Gravity's next move because it's their turn.
All right, it was Impulse to keep it on red side as well for that third game choice. We'll see if that had a little bit of an impact as well. For more on Team Impulse's second series win, we're going to check